Okay, time to talk about the Australia-South Africa series or South Africa-Australia series happening in South Africa, excuse me, in about a week's time. Two test series, so very much a whistle-stop tour. Australia come back here to play New Zealand and India. South Africa plays Sri Lanka as well next month at home. So, starting out with the Australians, who we all saw play in Sri Lanka. Won that series 1-0, which was a surprise. I said I didn't expect them to win the series. And Sri Lanka didn't really run right with the bat. They got better as the series went on, but certainly early on were very poor with the bat. Really markedly poor, actually. One of the worst batting performances I've seen from a home Asian team in a long, long time, especially in that first innings. But like someone like Tilakratna Dilshan just didn't show up at all. There was really terrible dismissals. Michael Hussey got 2 wickets in the series. Joe Wadena ran himself out. Sankara got out to Nathan Lyon's first ball in Test cricket. Just not very good on Nathan Lyon. So he took 7 wickets in the series, 8 wickets in the series maybe, and he'll almost certainly play in this series, and he shouldn't as far as I'm concerned. Lyon dismissed 2 specialist batsmen in the entire series. That 5 for 30 odd, that was 4 of them were tailenders, or last 4 wickets of the innings. Nothing wrong with that, but obviously they were tailenders, and when the batsmen were batting poorly, you can imagine how the tailenders were going. Overall in the series, 2.7 wickets a match at 36.87. That's not that bad for a new slow bowler, really. Although, let's say only 2 specialist batsmen he dismissed. 3.11 economy rate. That's probably the biggest concern, because a finger spinner, that's their job in Asia, and maybe especially outside of Asia, when you'd be tossing up whether to play a finger spinner is can they hold up an end. And Nathan Lyon didn't. 3.11 economy rate's very, very, very poor for a slow bowler. For a fast bowler, you might be able to get away with that maybe if he's a wicket taker, but Nathan Lyon's not going to take huge wickets in bunches. So, not remotely close to the finished product. He took 3 for 250 in his last 5 bowling innings. Took 79.5 overs. So yeah, basically that first innings when they hadn't seen him before, there was some value, but then fell off dramatically. They should play 4 pace bowlers. Their strength is pace. Ryan Harris, Mitchell Johnson, Copeland had his moments and has a very good first class record, and they're talking about Cummings, for instance, as an option. The thing about Harris, I know he's very much flavour of the month, is that he is indeed flavour of the month. Australia have done this with Peter Siddle. They thought he was amazing for a while and they dropped him. Stuart Clark, they thought he was amazing and dropped him. Ben Hilfenhaus, they thought he was amazing and dropped him. Doug Bollinger, they thought he was amazing and dropped him. I've had this weird history in the last 2 or 3 years that their one consistent strength, pace bowling, they've been unnecessarily volatile about and dropping people and picking them up. Ryan Harris, is there anything he's doing that Peter Siddle wasn't doing 2 years ago, or Bollinger wasn't doing last year or the year before? I'm not so sure. It's sort of a flavour of the month kind of thing. Johnson's still the big issue, and I think this is a massive series for Mitchell Johnson. It's a career-defining series as far as I'm concerned for Johnson. He averages 25.45 against South Africa, 5.5 wickets a match. Excellent, excellent numbers. We know he had that home and away series a couple of years ago. I think it was about 3 years ago, maybe, where he demolished South Africa and took 11 wickets out of 14 in one match, and went over to that South Africa and was positively Ambrosian. To Graham Smith and the openers over there, just unplayable. He's his best economy rate against South Africa, 2.81 against any team. But look, I've been Mitchell Johnson's biggest backer. I've been leading the Mitchell Johnson fan club, but I'm running out of patience. In all honesty, he hasn't been good for quite some time, if we're being honest, besides that Perth test. And as much as I believe in him, I sometimes think maybe this is the Australian Steve Harmison. It was a very short burst of exceptional quality bowling, and then it's really been rubbish, if we're being honest, since then. And at some point you've got to go, this is not good enough. And I think we're getting close to that point. Johnson averaged 52.16 against Sri Lanka, who weren't batting well at all. And you start to wonder what his ability to, sure it was in Asia, but he's a seam bowler. You should have done more. Simple as that. And if you can't do it against South Africa, and it's going to be difficult because the batting cards are very good, we'll get to them in a second. Look, I think they've got to look at his place. That said, again, I'm endorsing a 4-man pace attack. That's where Australia's strength is, not just in the Test team, but also in the first class team or first class options. They're Copeland, this Cummings guy. There are a few other options as well of young pace bowlers with excellent first class numbers of the 20 variety, 4 or 5 wickets a match. They should play pace bowlers. That's what they do well. In Asia, I get it. You've got to play a slow bowler. So the Nathan Lyon thing was somewhat defensible. Yeah. But not outside Asia. There's no reason to play slow bowlers in South Africa unless you really think you need to, and you've got a quality one, and you don't in Australia. Like, just they're not. It's not remotely close to quality bowler. So yeah, that's Australia. South Africa. Look, I love South Africa's team. I love the talent on their team. I think they're the most talented team in the world by a fair margin, to be honest with you. It starts and ends with Dale Steyn, or starts with Dale Steyn, as I mentioned in an article I posted on my Tumblr. You know, England was talking after their series win against India, talking about the South Africa series that was coming up next year. And they're like, oh, well, look, Dale Steyn's good, but England's got the better attack. And Dale Steyn's not good. He's exceptionally good. He's taken 80 wickets in a calendar year, took 66 wickets last year, 5.5 wickets a match at 21.26. You know, the guy he got the best strike rate of anyone since George Lohmann with more than 90 wickets, which is back in 1900. The guy is an exceptionally good player, dominating player, and the matchup between him and Phil Hughes is a joke, frankly. Watson might be on one leg, so Australia up at the top of the order are in lots of trouble. Ricky Ponting, don't get me started. You know, we didn't see, he hasn't scored now in 12 innings, hasn't got past 15, 12 innings. He probably eventually will score some runs because that's just luck that's going to happen, but he's obviously done. So Australia are carrying line and they're carrying Ponting against a really talented team, and two players I don't think are really test contributors at all. Besides Steyn, South Africa have sort of snuck up a little bit in their batting card. Batting card was always considered solid and particularly deep, but in the last 2 or 3 years, it's exploded well. AB de Villiers is the best young player in world cricket as far as I'm concerned. He's been dominant the last few years. But since the start of 2010, there's 12 matches, Smith, Amla, Callis and de Villiers, those four, who will be batting in some order in the top five. Smith might have, I think Smith and Amla may open, but anyway, but Callis, de Villiers. Those four in the last 12 matches have scored 5,119 runs, which is 426.58 a match. Those four guys score 426. And consider if you need like 600 runs to win a test match, 550 to 600 runs, you know, and those four are giving you pretty much all of them themselves. You know, or 4/5 of that. Their average is 74.19. That's all four guys. This is over a span of 82 innings, so it's a very robust average. 74.19. 34 scores. They score on 41.5% of their innings. 20 centuries, the 4.1 century rate. So when you've got four weapons like that against a bowling attack that's questionable, obviously no slow bowling option. That won't hurt nearly as much here as it might have in Sri Lanka, but that's dominant. Australia's got nothing on that. You know, Hussey's played quite well recently. It's about as close as it gets. Watson's not fallen off, but he's cooled off a little bit, and he's possibly injured. They're their two best batsmen, you would think, going into the series. Clark, okay, but again, not a dominating player. Whereas they've got four dominating players. Callis is the best batsman in the world. It was about 3 months ago when I last checked. Amazingly, still at 35. And obviously, an absolute legend. De Villiers, young player, just absolutely creaming attacks over the last 4 years. Look at his numbers if you haven't. They're exceptionally good. And he's a great stroke maker. Huge stroke range from De Villiers. Smith, always steady. You know, he might not like how he bats. It's kind of not a bit dour, but he's very steady. Amla's in a similar kind of mould, and they complement each other well. And even beyond that, Dumini, Ashwell Prince, they brought back Jacques Rudolph, which is interesting. But a bunch of, you know, solid test class players. Really good batting card. Not nearly as deep as it used to be. Really good batting card. Best fast bowler in the world. Really good team at home. Playing a team that is still got question marks after the Sri Lanka series. Did well. Did better than I thought. Fair play. But weren't exactly dominating, and South Africa is much better than Sri Lanka, especially at the moment. Sri Lanka are playing terribly at the moment. So, what's going to happen? Look, South Africa have got a bad habit of losing these very types of series. The series where they're obviously the better team, they're in the right conditions, they're at home. They did this last time against Australia. Australia actually hold the points last time they played in South Africa, even though with Johnson going nuts. And that's the thing that South Africa's got to be concerned about. I think the first couple of days of this series are very, very big. Obviously, it's only a two-test series, so it's sort of obvious. But just particularly for South Africa's mental state, they seem to just get themselves in knots. Mentally, they're not necessarily a strong team. I don't think they're well captained by Smith. The third pace bowler is sort of an issue after Morkel. It's Sobe. I'm not as concerned about that. I think Morkel's quite a good test player. I think Dale Steyn's an exceptionally good test player. Their bowling should be okay. Their batting should be dominant, I think. I think they'll kill them batting-wise. Unless we see something from Johnson. I'm not sure Harris is the great white hope that Australia thinks he is. Again, I am a little bit concerned going in for South Africa, but I do think they'll win this series. I think they'll probably win 2-0. That's what they should do. The talent on the field suggests that that's what should be the case, but I guess we'll see. Next up, Down the track, we'll be talking about Australia and New Zealand here in Australia, and the South Africans play Sri Lanka. So we'll be talking about that next time around. Thanks for watching, guys.